Let's take a look at my favorite way to save images for the web in this lesson. I'm in the Lesson 6 folder, and in the Images folder, I've opened the image called Bean Blossom Large. It's a JPEG that's much too large to go up on the web, but it's a beautiful photo, and I want to size it down. Making graphics to use on your blog site or you're uploading photos to Facebook, you certainly don't want to upload enormous photos, so this is a great feature. It's actually a part of Photoshop and Illustrator. So if you have Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, any of the recent versions in the last few years, this feature has been in for a while and it's an awesome feature. So as I said, I'm in Photoshop, I'm in CS 5.5. Up under the File menu, there is a Save for Web and Devices, and that's what I'm using. The keyboard shortcut for Mac users is Command-Option-Shift-S for save, and Control-Alt-Shift-S for save for Windows users. So let's go in and take a look at it. First of all, when you open it, you have 4 tabs up here at the top. Original is going to show you your unchanged image, and I'm actually going to use one more shortcut to show me my whole image. I'm using Command-0 on the Mac and Control-0 on Windows so that I can see the entire photo. Up here, you also have an Optimized tab. So Original shows you your unchanged image. Once you know what you're doing and you don't need to really compare versions, I use the Optimized tab. But there's a 2-up and a 4-up, and you can certainly use those when you're getting started. So I'm on 4-up right now. The first thing I like to do is go to each one of these has a modem speed that you can set for each one individually. I use 56K. In my dream world, everyone would have a T1 line, but the reality is if you're dealing with the general public, there are people who are still going to be on dial-up or have another type of slow connection. So you certainly want to prepare your images for the worst possible scenario. The one that has a blue line around it is the one that you're working on. So I'm working on this one right now. If I go over here to my Optimize palette, and again, we are optimizing our images, what that means is we're making decisions on quality versus file size. I'm going to go up here to JPEG, and I'm going to set this one to low. And you'll see right away that it comes in at 426K. Now I know that's still kind of big for low, so I know already I have a problem. So down here in the lower right-hand corner, where the image size section is, I can see that my image is enormous. So I'm going to go in here and change the width of my image to 800, and then just click in the other field. So you can actually resize your images within this window. And again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I've got some plus and minus buttons down here so I can see my image a little better. I like to zoom in at 100% because that's what your user is going to be viewing it at. Such a beautiful bridge, isn't it? So I'm at 800 for my width. I've got my JPEG set to low, and it's down to 56K. I'm going to click on this one and change it to JPEG and set this one to the highest possible, which is maximum. This one is 12 times the size, or actually in this case 10 times the size. It's 570K. But I've got much cleaner, sharper edges. So this is way too big for on the web, but I wouldn't want my image to look like this either. So I have some in-between settings that I could use and play with. I also have some quality and blur settings that I can play with. If I had masked this photo so that the background was transparent, you can't get transparency in a JPEG, but you could go in here with the matte and put a solid color behind it, typically the color of your web page, so that it has the illusion of being transparent. So those are the JPEG settings. I also have a progressive button up here, so I can save a low, medium, and high quality version of my image all in one so that they're loading simultaneously while the person is waiting. If they have a slow connection, they at least have something they can be looking at. So for this one, I'm now going to change it to a ping. There's 8-bit and 24-bit pings. These do allow transparency, so if my image was masked, I would be able to see the transparency back here. And then another setting is the GIF. Now GIF I would never use for this kind of photo, but a GIF would be perfect for a flat area of color, like a logo or a piece of text, something with just plain flat color. When you save something as a GIF, the total number of colors available to you are 256, as opposed to a ping or a JPEG, which use the RGB workspace, and so they would allow you to have 16.7 million possible colors. That's a big difference. So with this one, I have it at 256, and you can see this file size is 323K. As I start throwing out colors, that's how GIFs reduce their file size. They throw out colors. but I'm allowing Photoshop to make the decision for me. So although this looks kind of cool, I probably wouldn't want my image to look this way. That might be a cool art print, but not really appropriate for an image from the web. So I definitely want to control how many colors it has, but what you can do, if you allow Photoshop to just take the colors out randomly, you might lose some important colors that you want to keep, like your logo color. So what I can do instead with GIFs is I have a color table. I can get my little eyedropper tool over here, and I can click on a color, and I can click this little padlock and lock that color. So each one of these that I lock will automatically keep that color. So as I start deleting colors from up here, Photoshop is going to keep the ones that I locked. So you can see as I'm deleting colors, the locked ones, the ones that have the little symbol in the corner, those are still there. It's going to get rid of those colors last. So you do have some control over how your image appears. So you can also go down here to go to Device Central. That allows you to go out and see what your images look like on a mobile device, and there are lots of different mobile devices you can pick from. I highly recommend that. When you click the Save button, you can save just your images, which is what I do. You can save your images on an HTML page, or you can save just the HTML, and I really have never done that. I simply use this just for saving my images. But if I'm saving images for Facebook, for instance, I usually set my width to 800 and my quality of my JPEG to medium. That's just what I do. But it depends on your situation and what your photo is for. If these are product photos for your company, you definitely want the highest quality you can get and still keep the file size manageable. So this is the Save for Web and Devices feature of Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, and it's my favorite way of saving images for the web.